Why you feel emotionally tired, even when nothing is wrong. There is a kind of tiredness that sleep never reaches. No matter how long you rest, it's still there, sitting quietly in your chest, in the way you breathe, in the heaviness you feel before the day even begins. It's not the kind of tiredness you can point to. Nothing terrible happened. Nothing went wrong today. Life, on the surface, looks fine. And yet, your heart feels full in the wrong way. Not full of joy, but full of weight. You carry it in silence. You move through your day politely. You smile when needed. You answer, "I'm okay." But inside, something feels worn down. Because this tiredness didn't start yesterday. It didn't come from one moment. It came from years of holding things together. From feelings you never had time to feel. From losses you survived without slowing down. From being strong so often that rest stopped feeling familiar. You're not emotionally tired because something is wrong with you. You're tired because too much has been asked of your heart for too long, and it has never truly been allowed to rest. You're not exhausted because nothing happened. You're exhausted because so much happened. Quietly. 1. The exhaustion you can't put into words. You wake up already tired. Not the kind of tired that comes from a short night of sleep, but the kind that sits quietly inside you before the day even begins. Your body may be rested, but your heart feels heavy, and you don't know how to explain that to anyone, because nothing is wrong. There's no emergency, no argument, no bad news. So when people ask, "Are you okay? Did something happen?" You hesitate. You want to say, "No, nothing happened." And yet, everything feels like too much. You are tired from carrying thoughts you never shared, from holding emotions you never released, from being the one who stayed calm while life demanded more than you were ready to give. You've been strong for so long that you no longer remember what it feels like to rest emotionally. You've learned how to function, how to show up, how to keep moving, even when your inner world has been quietly running on empty. And the hardest part is this: you don't feel allowed to be tired because others depend on you, because you've always been the reliable one, because you tell yourself that you should be grateful, not exhausted. But emotional tiredness doesn't ask permission. It arrives when your heart has carried more than it was ever meant to carry alone. Emotional exhaustion isn't loud. It whispers, "I've been holding this for too long." 2. Why emotional tiredness increases after age 60. As you get older, this kind of tiredness begins to appear more often. Not because you are weaker, but because life has asked more of your heart than most people ever realize. By this age, you've carried decades of experiences without always having space to process them. You didn't stop to fall apart. You didn't pause to heal properly. You kept going because someone needed you to. All the moments you swallowed your feelings, all the pain you minimized, all the grief you pushed aside so life could continue, they didn't disappear. They settled quietly inside you. And then there is loss. Not always loud loss, not always sudden. Sometimes it's the slow loss of people drifting away, the loss of routines that once gave you purpose, the loss of roles that once defined who you were. At the same time, your life becomes quieter, your schedule opens, your body slows, but your mind doesn't. In the silence, old emotions resurface. Unfinished feelings speak up. Memories return without warning. You also notice something else. You still listen. You still support. You still understand. But fewer people pause to ask how you are really doing. So your heart keeps giving, even when it's tired. You're not emotionally exhausted because you're aging. You're exhausted because you've lived deeply, continuously, and without much rest. 3. The signs your heart is exhausted. You may not call it emotional exhaustion. You might just think you're quieter than you used to be, more distant, less reactive, but your heart knows the truth. One of the first signs is not sadness, it's numbness. You don't cry easily anymore. You don't feel deeply the way you once did. Not because you don't care, but because caring has cost you so much energy. Another sign is how small things begin to overwhelm you. A simple decision feels heavy. A minor problem feels like too much. Not because the moment is big, but because your heart is already full. You may also notice that you avoid conversations that require emotional effort. Not because you don't love people, but because today you don't have the strength to open yourself again. There's a strange contradiction too. You want space. You want quiet. You want to be alone. But at the same time, you don't want to feel lonely. Only emotionally tired hearts understand how painful that tension can be. Even time with people you love leaves you drained. Things that once brought joy now feel distant. And perhaps the clearest sign of all is how easily the words, "I'm fine," leave your mouth. While inside, you're tired of being strong. This tiredness is not weakness. It's evidence of how much your heart has endured. 4. The invisible weight you've been carrying. There are weights you've carried for so long that they no longer feel heavy. They feel normal. You learned to hold them quietly, without complaint, without pause, without asking for help. Unresolved moments, responsibilities that never truly belonged to you. Family tensions you learned to manage instead of express. Being the one others leaned on while no one leaned back. You carried grief without ceremony, loneliness without acknowledgement, needs without language. None of these burdens arrived all at once. They layered themselves slowly, year after year, chapter after chapter, until your heart adjusted to the weight instead of questioning it. And that's why this exhaustion feels so confusing. There wasn't one breaking point. There wasn't one dramatic moment. There was just life, asking you to keep going even when you were tired. So you did. You stayed functional. You stayed dependable. You stayed strong. But strength, when it never rests, turns into quiet depletion. Your heart isn't tired because of one big problem. It's tired because it has been carrying everything, small and large, without ever being set down. Emotional exhaustion isn't a sudden collapse. It's the slow result of surviving for years without giving yourself permission to stop feeling responsible for everything. You're not tired from today. You're tired from all the days you never allowed yourself to feel. 5. Why you don't tell anyone how tired you really are. You don't talk about this tiredness because you've learned how to carry things quietly. You don't want pity. You don't want sympathy that fades quickly. You don't want to worry the people you love. And after a lifetime of being the steady one, it feels strange, almost uncomfortable, to admit that you're the one who needs care now. So you stay silent. You choose easier words. "I'm okay. I'll manage. I just need a little rest." Those words sound harmless. They keep the peace. They let everyone move on. But they also hide the truth. Deep down, you wish someone would notice without you having to explain. You wish someone would ask slowly, gently, in a way that made it feel safe to answer honestly. Emotional tiredness is lonely because it doesn't look dramatic. There are no visible signs, no clear story to tell, just a quiet heaviness that follows you through the day. And you protect others from it. You protect them because you love them, because you don't want to be a burden, because you've spent years being the one who holds everything together. So instead of speaking, you absorb. Instead of asking, you endure. And that silence, over time, becomes exhausting in itself. You're not hiding how tired you are. You're protecting the people you love from carrying what you've carried alone. 6. How to gently restore your emotional energy. Healing this kind of exhaustion doesn't happen through effort. It doesn't come from pushing yourself harder or telling yourself to be stronger. Your heart is not asking for discipline. It's asking for gentleness. Restoring emotional energy begins when you slowly stop carrying what was never yours to hold. You don't have to fix every problem. You don't have to listen to everything. You don't have to be available all the time. Stepping back is not selfish. It's necessary. Your heart also needs permission to feel again. not to analyze, not to explain, just to feel. To let sadness move through you instead of settling. To let tears come without judging them. To let emotions breathe. Because what stays trapped eventually turns into exhaustion. Small rituals matter more than big changes. A quiet morning, a warm drink held slowly, a walk with no destination. Soft music in an empty room, sunlight touching your face. These moments tell your nervous system that it is safe to soften. It's also okay to take space from people who drain you, even people you love. Love does not require constant access. And when you ask for help, it doesn't have to be dramatic. A simple request, a small reach outward. You're not asking for too much. You don't need to become stronger. You need to stop being so hard on a heart that has already carried so much. 7. A message for the heart that's tired. If you feel emotionally tired, drained, worn down, quietly empty, even when nothing is wrong, please hear this. There is nothing broken inside you. This tiredness is not a failure. It is not weakness. And it is not a sign that you are losing yourself. It is a sign that your heart has carried a long life. You've held responsibilities that didn't come with rest. You've survived moments that never gave you time to recover. You've kept going because stopping didn't feel like an option. So, of course, you're tired. Your heart has been awake for years. You don't need to prove your strength anymore. You don't need to explain why you feel this way. You don't need to justify your need for rest. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to pause without a reason. You are allowed to feel without fixing. Rest is not giving up. Rest is listening. Listening to a heart that has whispered long enough, hoping you would finally hear it. Let this be the chapter where you stop carrying everything alone, where you soften your grip, where you choose kindness toward yourself instead of endurance. Your life is not over. Your peace is not behind you. There are still quiet moments waiting, moments that don't ask anything from you except that you be here. And for now, that is enough. 8. Let yourself rest without explaining. Before this video ends, there is one thing your heart may need to hear. You don't have to explain your tiredness. You don't have to justify why you need rest. You don't have to point to a reason. You don't have to prove that it's bad enough. Your heart already knows. It knows how long it has stayed alert, how often it put others first, how many times it chose responsibility over its own quiet needs. And now, it's asking for something simple. Not answers, not solutions, not improvement, just space. Space to breathe without being useful. Space to exist without performing strength. Space to feel without being questioned. You are allowed to rest even if the world keeps moving, even if others don't understand, even if nothing dramatic has happened. Rest is not a reward you earn after everything is finished. It is something your heart needs in the middle of life, right where you are. So tonight or today, let yourself soften just a little. Let your shoulders drop. Let your breath slow. Let the weight you've been carrying touch the ground for a moment. You've done enough. You've been enough. And for now, it's okay to simply be here, without carrying anything else.